We developed this product 3 years ago, and normally it doesn't take us that long to do things. We're going to have to wait until a major player goes first.
Today, it's my absolute pleasure to speak to one of the two co-founders behind True Start Coffee, the powerful, positive, smiley force that is Helena Hills. Helena talks about their incredible growth over the last 3 or 4 years. Even though they've been around 11 years, they've shown some superb traction recently. And they're growing profitably, which is something we can all only dream of. We talk about their Series A fundraise, we talk about the importance of people and team and culture, and we talk about how they are moving from an emerging scaling brand into one that is really making waves in such a solid, consistent and concrete way. Look forward to this one. Dive in. Helena Hills of True Start Coffee, welcome to Brand Growth Heroes.
Hello, delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to have you on. And what an amazing year you guys are having. Tell us all the big things that are happening right now, because you're all over the news.
Oh my gosh, we've got so many big things happening. Okay, well, we started off the year announcing a really exciting that we closed a Series A fundraise with Jam Jar, who are the founders of Innocent Smoothies, which is super exciting. They've been a dream partner of ours for a really long time. So that's awesome. And it's kind of marked the start of this next chapter, I suppose, for True Start. The last couple of years, we've seen this like really insane growth that we're really proud of. And now it's about like investing in all the things that we know are working really well and going boof, like scale up mode, like and from startup to scale up mode, I guess.
Welcome to Brand Growth Heroes, the leading podcast for the founders of challenger grocery brands. I'm your host, Fiona Fitz. My 25 years at global giants such as Nestle and challenger brands such as Goo Chocolate Puds, Chobani and Strong Roots, as well as coached over 400 scaling brands, means I have the experience to ask the questions that truly matter and get you the insight that will inspire you to think differently and drive serious growth for your brand. You said to me that you are doing an insane monthly run rate and you are profitable. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct.
Tell us.
Well, I think for me, I've talked a lot for the last... So True Start is 11 years old this month. That's probably worth mentioning, which is mad for Simon and I, because it feels like we've been doing this forever, but also that we just started it yesterday. Like, I'm sure you know what I mean. But we kind of spent the first 5 years like figuring ourselves out. And then the second 5 years is really like, okay, so we've got something here. We're going to like really build this on, I always say on concrete and not sand. So we've worked really, really hard to be really choosy, I suppose, as to what we invest in for growth. And yeah, we've grown over the past few years profitably, which is something that I'm really, really proud of.
That's incredible. And you've obviously focused on that and set out to do that.
Yes.
Because it doesn't just happen, right?
No.
So we'll talk about that a little. Take us back in time to what that first kind of phase was. And I was going to say messy phase before you were growing up, but actually you've said that you were trying to build on concrete, not on sand, which I think is quite a different lens than what most founders have when in that first messy period. So maybe I can't say that messy, ungrown up phase because it sounds quite grown up.
Oh no, you definitely can. Like, no, we had a like insanely messy a start. Like, who doesn't? That's all part of it. I think, is it worth me mentioning, like, or just sort of talking through the little how True Start began, like, just quickly? Well, I mean, we obviously make delicious, healthy coffee. That's what we're all about. And if we go back like 12 years, well, even before that, so I didn't even drink coffee. We never came at True Start from like a super coffee angle because I didn't even drink coffee until I lived in South America many years ago now. It does feel like a different lifetime. I remember I lived with a Dutch girl at uni, and she used to say in first year, oh, do you want to go for a coffee? And I'd be like, do you mean the pub? Like it just wasn't really like, I guess culturally it's changed a lot over here, hasn't it? So I definitely didn't really drink coffee until I lived in South America. And it was over there, specifically in Colombia, that I like absolutely fell in love with it, because over there it's a massive part of the culture. The people are amazing, big buzz, and coffee's a big part of it. So I came home like a big coffee fan, and especially a Colombian coffee fan. And then years later, Simon and I had obviously met Simon. We became obsessed with this idea of like clean, healthy coffee that doesn't just taste good, but it also makes you feel great.
What can you just explain that? Because I am so naive for someone who's worked in the food and drink industry as long as I have. Honestly, like when I buy coffee in the supermarket, am I not buying clean and healthy coffee?
Well, this is it. I mean, so our coffee is like really rigorously tested for tons of quality and purity markers that other people just haven't been doing. So things like caffeine consistency, mycotoxins, which are molds that grow on mass-produced coffee. You've got like heavy metals, pesticide residues, and positive things as well, like antioxidant content, because high-quality coffee is like really good for you. But not all coffee's high quality, right? And we didn't know that either. And if we, go back to the start of True Start or just before, Simon and I were training for like one of these Ironman triathlons, which is like a really big deal for me. I'd never done anything like it before. And we had got in the habit of having coffee before training. And strangely, for someone who has a coffee business, I am actually really sensitive to caffeine. So I was really noticing sometimes I'd have a coffee and I'd be, jittery, heart palpitations. Other times I'd have a coffee and I needed another one to get going, put it that way.
I totally get that.
Relate.
And sometimes I have to have two, and sometimes I have one and I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. Your head's blown off.
Exactly. And because we were quite tuned in like to nutrition as part of our training, we started to look into it like, okay, coffee, caffeine, what does it do to our brains, and how much of it should we be drinking as well? And there is tons of research out there. Coffee is really good for you. High quality coffee is good for you. But we realised that the quality of coffee is super variable. You never really know how much caffeine you're drinking. Things like mycotoxins, pesticide residues, these are all like a problem. And we were like, okay, we just had this idea to create a coffee that, doesn't just taste great, but clean. It's guaranteed to be good for you. Yeah, so it's carefully sourced. We buy the best quality coffee we can find, and then we test it for a ton of markers, quality and purity markers. And it makes a really big difference to how you feel. And we started out in the world of sports and fitness, and I think over the time that True Start's been around, we've gone from relentlessly building the brand by word of mouth at sports events all over the country, where we created a real community around the brand from day one, to be honest, I mean, we're still relentlessly building the brand by word of mouth at sports events all over the country. There's just the events are bigger. But early doors, the idea of a healthy coffee, it was only really the fitness community that really got it. It's quite a niche idea. But over the last decade, if you think about it, that has changed. It was COVID, really. We saw a light switch. Everything that we've stood for since day one, like leading health credentials, also ethics. We're a really proactive, certified B Corp. We're an independent family business, all these things. Everything we've always stood for since day one became important to people, and we really benefited from that. And I think in that same time period, if you look at the rise of like alcohol moderation, low and no alcohol products, it's the same thing has happened. Like, it's almost like the market came to True Start. We're now like laser focused on upgrading the everyday coffee choice. There's lots of really traditional major players that people are a bit like, they've kind of been left behind a bit. And those are the ones that we are, upgrading from.
Just a quick word about Brand Growth Heroes partner, Jolson. So look, as a founder, you've got loads on your plate. Fundraising, shareholders, co-founders, co-manufacturing, product, NPD, you name it. Scaling is really complex, and the legal side of scaling can be really complex too. Who your legal partner is really matters, because it's not something we can afford to get wrong. That's why I work with Jolson. Jolson have worked with brands like Little Moons, Trip, Two Chicks, Grays, Costa Malika, and they've even advised the innocent founders on their sale to Coca-Cola. And they still work with them today at Jam Jar. And for me, it's not just that they're brilliant at what they do, but they're also really good people. They care about founders, they care about doing things properly, and that really matters. And they're also one of the few law firms that's both B Corp certified and a member of 1% for the Planet. Recently, I asked one of Jolson's managing partners, Phil Halesmith, to talk to us about how Jolson supports female founders on their scaling journey.
We're fortunate to have worked with loads of female founders who've had some very successful businesses, raised huge amounts of capital, and are happy to give back. And that's part of what we're trying to do in terms of running a regular program that supports them both here in the office, but also enabling them to actually access getting VC financing.
If you'd like to find out more about Jolson's female founder club, Hercules, why not go to their website www.jolsonlaw.com or send a quick email to hello@jolsonlaw.com. You're not going to believe this, but Jolson is actually offering a free legal consultation to any founders who listen to Brand Growth Heroes podcast, and I would definitely take them up on it. You'll find a link to book now directly here in the show notes below, or just drop a comment underneath the episode and I will connect you with them directly. And now let's get back to the show. I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. James Richardson of Ramping Your Brand. We had him on the show recently.
Cool, yeah, rings a
or
bell.
Category Pirates, Eddie Yoon. But they talk about super consumers and finding your super consumers and doubling down on those in their super geos, which, you know, is self-explanatory really, which is what you did. When you did that, was it like cerebral, you know, we're going to make this choice to talk to these people and get them to do word of mouth? Or was it because it just was the only budget you had and the only thing you knew and they were the only people who were going to be receptive? And it
was
ended up
almost
being
like,
the right thing.
It ended up being the right thing, and it became deliberate later down the line. But at the time, the only thing that made sense for us to do was to get out there. And it was Simon and I, honestly, and it was lucky really that our children, who are 6 and 7, and it's mad to think they've been around for more than half of True Start's life, actually, because it felt like we had a really long period beforehand. Simon and I would be at like 3, sometimes 4 events a week, certainly every weekend, and then some in the week as well. We'd be up at these like really early running events, and we were building a real, like, we were just out there directly with our consumers from day one. And it's still really critical to who True Start are, actually, that real life. I always say that the magic of True Start is in our real life interaction. And now one of the big jobs to be done in scale up mode is scaling that and then amplifying it online brilliantly, because we've got all the seeds of doing that. But actually it really is where the magic is, because I always say we're all about making people feel good. Coffee is ultimately an incredible vehicle for that feeling, because loads of people drink it. So that's why we exist. We exist to make people feel great. And in that real life interaction, that's when it's easiest. You can have such an impact on how someone feels. You can see someone, like, you know, all sad and grumpy at an event that might be like, you know, it's still dark and it's drizzling or whatever, and people are a bit like, oh, and you switch them on, you know, a barrage of positive energy and a nice cup of True Start, get them going, and you know they've gone off and had a great day afterwards. So that's what we love to do.
One of my big, like, aha moments recently has been all around transformation, you know, and it's quite nuanced, because I've been telling the brands I work with for years and years and years, you know, that your job is, marketing is about changing people. And I can remember last year on the mini MBA last year, someone saying to me, that's ridiculous. No, we're not changing people. I was like, no, but you are, because you're getting these people to do this thing for either the first time or the second time.
Yeah.
And you're getting them to do it instead of something else. So for me, this transformation was about getting people to do things. But then I had a call recently with this fabulous lady called Sarah Wilson. By the time this goes out, I don't know if Sarah Wilson will have gone live. And she runs a business called Community Catalysts, where she helps like Airstream and Netflix find online communities. Now, I'm not talking about like, you know, finding the Facebook group. What she's talking about is like the subreddit, right? Yeah. And she talks about, she's the lady who coined the idea of a digital campfire. And when we were on that call, she was talking about transformation being that you actually physically have to transform someone internally, physically or emotionally. And that's what coffee does. And that's what you do even better than coffee. You do it to a much greater degree than the category does it. And that's kind of like in Blue Ocean theory. It's like, and I know I'm going off on one, but just for anyone who's listening, who's thinking about category creation, it's like, how can you do something way over and above what the rest of the category does in a way that no one's even considered as important?
Totally. And that was like our insight with coffee. Ultimately, we are different because we lead with energy, and we're better because we're truly obsessed, and I mean obsessed, with our customer and how we make them feel. And that difference, like you're just talking about, like coming at something from a different angle, to me it's obvious because coffee, like that's why people have it, because they're tired and they want to wake up. Leading with energy it's just really intrinsic to who we are. It's in our DNA. I've got tons of energy. I grew up with my dad saying every 5 minutes that we just need to work out how to channel your energy.
Yeah.
And I think True Start is that. It's how my energy's been channeled.
Is all coffee not energy, though, because of the caffeine?
No, of course it is. But from a brand perspective, we lead with energy. And that is what makes us different. Whereas a lot of coffee brands and coffee products, they're more about like cafe culture. It's not really about the energy.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a place for that. Like, don't get me wrong. But we're like, we are here to give you energy. And obviously from a product perspective, there's loads of like product truths that help with that. So with True Start, you can like choose your caffeine level. We've got like a strong one, we got a half calf. But yeah, as a brand, we're really all about the energy because energy is contagious.
And your packaging.
Yeah.
And
your
brand.
Hair. So yeah, the visual identity of our brand is the visual kind of like manifestation of who we are.
Your t-shirt is amazing, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Love that.
And like when you meet us at events, we are like a wall of yellow. We are tons of energy, and we're literally there to give that energy to other people. And that is what we do. And we've had quite a few. We're hiring quite a lot at the moment. We've had lots of interviews and things like that, and people coming into our office. We call it the mega shed because it's an upgrade from the shed that we used to be. We used to be based from a glorified shed in Simon Eye's garden. So now we're in the mega shed, and people come in and they're like, "Oh my God." It's the vibe, like the team, everything. It's exactly how I expected it to be, or I hoped it would be after seeing like, things on socials or whatever. And I love that because it just is. It's such an energizing place to be and such a good bunch of people.
If you're getting value and insight out of the conversations we have with the founders and business leaders on Brand Growth Heroes podcast, then please like, follow, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to the podcast, whether that's iTunes or Spotify or YouTube, or whether you're connecting with us on LinkedIn or Instagram. It really matters. It matters that you click that button. It matters that you comment. It matters that you engage. We love hearing from you. So write a comment, write a review on iTunes. Tell us if it's making a difference to you. Tell us if you like it. Thank you so much. So now you're building your team, but in the first few years, how many of them were you? How many of you were there? And then at what point did you all of a sudden see the switch into getting real traction that you obviously have now? Like, what changed?
Yeah. The light switch was COVID, because that is when the market came to True Start.
Right.
Or like the whole pandemic situation, because suddenly what became important to people around health is the stuff we were already doing. So that was like, we had to fundamentally reshape the business like everybody did. But we came out of that whole period a much better fit for this kind of new world. We're more resilient, faster growing than we ever were going into it. So that was kind of a light switch moment where it was like, okay, this is going from being niche to mainstream. And then as a result of that, a couple of years later, we got our first major retail listing in Co-op. And that was a big inflection for us. And then we've had, then we got Costco. And then last year we took our first steps into grocery, which I think is quite unusual for a brand after 10 years to take their first steps into grocery.
This is what is mind-boggling for me. So give us the figures. In 2023, you were doing what, and what are you doing now?
2023 was 1 million, followed
Over
by
the
3.
year.
Yeah. 3, 7, and now we're on 12.
You're on run rate of 12 million.
Yeah.
And that's revenue.
Yes, revenue.
So 12 million, I mean, basically, market, that means like UK consumers or people, I don't know where they're buying it from, are buying around 20 million quid's worth of your coffee. Like they're spending
definitely.
20 million quid on your coffee. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really steep curve recently, and that's why it's so
Yes.
interesting, because everyone wants to know, you know, I remember True Start from years and years ago, but now all of a sudden, boom, you know, Jam Jar,
Yeah.
Series A. I mean, that is pretty hefty investment, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's quite cool full circle moment for Simon and I, because actually, so back in 2015 when we started the business, and we were actually on the NatWest accelerator for a while at the beginning, and Simon dug out this email the other day, which was, it was from me, I was sending it, and it was to some of the sort of like senior team at the accelerator, because we had these grand ideas. Our revenue was about 30 quid. We had these grand ideas of raising Series A. And I wrote in that email, we're thinking about raising Series A, and our primary target is Jam Jar. And that was in, you know, it was 2015, so that's quite cool.
That is wonderful. So huge growth, really fast growth recently. And what is the kind of innovation pipeline like going forward? Are you able to share anything with us?
Oh, we've got loads planned, as you can imagine, and investments are going into team, they're going into product, going into doing. It's interesting because it's not that something is fundamentally going to change or changing. It's that we're doing more of what we know we're good at and what we know works. So just as a side note there, on the events, as an example, we've gone from like lots of little events to like this year we are the official coffee partner for Tough Mudder, which is a real like, you know,
coming home.
That's a dream. Yeah, that's a real dream for us. As well as other really cool events like Maverick Series, GB Ultras, and Run for All. So they're like the Leeds Marathon and the Great Run Series as well. So like our events calendar is like absolutely bonkers. But from a product perspective, I mean, next week, which will be already in the past by the time this podcast comes out, I think, is that right? We've got a really exciting new product, coffee concentrate, that is like launching next week, basically. So we're buzzing for that because we developed this product 3 years ago and we had to wait until the market was like ready. So we're so excited about it. I've been drinking it like a highly caffeinated fish over the last few days. I'm obsessed with it.
I buy the Nescafe one at the moment because what happens to me is I'll make a coffee, and because it's so inconsistent, sometimes it won't be strong enough. It depends on which milk I put in with it, you know. Sometimes I need to top it up. Yeah. So that's in the fridge and I'll top it up. But also, if that was in the fridge, your big tetra there, I would be making so many more iced coffees and so many more coffee cocktails.
100%. Yeah, we're noticing we're getting through it. We're so excited about it. And actually, you've just made a really good point there about like why we're launching it now, like why the time is right. We developed this product 3 years ago, and normally it doesn't take us that long to do things. But we were like, this is such a great format. Like, oh my God, we loved it from the word go. But we were like, we have not got the pockets, we've not got the budgets to like teach the British public about coffee concentrate. We're going to have to wait until a major player goes first. And you've mentioned Nescafe. They came out with the coffee concentrate, and it's different. It's like an entry level, it's instant coffee based, right? So it's almost like the squash to our cordial, which is like fresh coffee, like pure Colombian Arabica. So it's about offering that choice. So yeah, they came out last year with like adverts for Love Island and stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool, now the time is right to put a really incredible fresh coffee product alongside it and offer people that choice.
Do you know what it would be brilliant for? So when I was going through radiotherapy, I decided to do my radiotherapy in London because I had people to stay with in London, whereas we've no radiotherapy place on the island, so I would have had to go to Liverpool. So in London, it ended up being Wimbledon Village, right? Which is very nice. So in and around Wimbledon, in and around radiotherapy, I'd be waiting for whoever I was meeting that day. I'd always try and get a work meeting in before or after. And I'd sit in Megan's, right? And it was really, really sunny. And they had this thing where you ordered an iced coffee. You would get this glass with frozen massive cubes of espresso, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then a really rich oat milk. And then a shot glass of syrup. So you'd have to pour the oat milk over the ice cubes and then pour the syrup, and you could see all the layers. And it was this incredible serve. But with your concentrate, I'm going to make ice cubes.
Yes, do.
And then because
That's
is
such a good idea.
It's such a great serve though. And I did a reel at the time because it was just so beautiful. Really incredibly like a real experience, and then it melts slowly. Oh, it's amazing.
Oh, I love that. And that's exactly like this product for us is about like making great iced coffee at home really easy. Because actually most of the iced coffee's in real growth, like young people now are actually, there's like an Allegra World Coffee Portal stat around more young people, Gen Z, are more often introduced to coffee via a cold format than hot. So it's in real growth. There's a real sort of like consumption behaviour change. So, until recently, most iced coffee consumption's been done out of home, coffee shops. And people are, cost of living, it's not particularly easy to spend £5 on an iced coffee every day or several times a day. You want often more than one. So this is about making it really easy to do exactly what you just said. Have that coffee shop experience at home.
I would say it'll scratch an itch for lots of people who don't have coffee machines, particularly B2B, situations. Even like, can you imagine, I'm sure airplanes just want powder, but like even ships and stuff where they just want to do the shot and add the hot water.
Absolutely. Because I've added hot water to this, even though it's like you got summer and you got winter, and summer's a great engine for iced coffee, and it's delicious. So you're exactly right.
So you got your funding now. You said you're growing the team. How do you make sure that as the team grows, that everybody is moving in the same direction and that the culture stays the same? How do you manage that? And also, you've said quite openly, I think, in lots of different places that you have ADHD. What is it like to be a founder who's got to put structure and process in place and think about all these moving parts when you do have ADHD? I mean, and kind of deliver on all of those things.
That's a great question.
What guide rails do you put in place?
I think that's where Simon and I as co-founders comes in. We are like highly complementary to one another. We both have like exactly the same objectives, mission. We're like on completely the same page. Our personalities, skill sets, what we enjoy day to day are really genuinely complementary. We can both do each other's part of the business in our sleep if we have to. But if we have to, being like emphasis on if we have to, because we enjoy different things. So he is fantastic at like making sure that the processes are in place. And actually, just as an example with the fundraise, to be honest, during the due diligence process, which is obviously like really, really in depth, it showed, I was even blown away by Simon's like meticulousness over the last 10 years, 11 years, paid off massively because it made the whole process like pretty easy because we had it all. So he is incredible at that. Okay. And I'm much more about like, it's almost like I'm outward facing, he's inward facing in a way.
Yeah.
I'm very focused at the moment, particularly on team culture, making sure that everybody is like happy and motivated. And you do that on an emotional level, which is where I excel. And you also need to do that on like a process level as well, so that people feel like secure. And Simon does that like really exceptionally well. So, and we don't know everything like at all. This is a huge learning curve for Simon and I to go from doing like most things ourselves to trusting an amazing team that we built and will continue to build, and making sure they're like empowered because we've hired every person on the team because they are amazing. Okay. So now it's about making sure that they can like really unlock. And I think communication is such a big part of that. That's my bag. And process is another part of it, and making sure people know like what they're doing and how they move the needle. And that's really where Simon excels. So I think our complementary sort of personalities really helps.
One of the things that we're quite interested in at the moment in all of the different groups that I run, but particularly the Next Gen CPG group, which is all about leaning into AI and becoming the next kind of, being founders who are creating challenger brands that are AI forward and AI positive. And I mean that like in a sustainable way as well, like, in making sure that we're not just like cutting jobs for the sake of it, but we're enriching people's jobs and that we're putting on a real leadership hat in that way. Yeah. How are you guys working together? Like, for example, we're talking a lot about, sharing the entire ways of working and the Bibles on Notion, or how do you use AI in the business? How do you make sure that everybody's moving in the same direction in terms of the adoption of tech?
Simon's working on that at the moment, actually, because it's all quite a new thing. Because I think what we're trying to work out is to help people understand where AI should be used and shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And having that, I'm big on empathy and compassion and all of the things that AI can't be used for, to always make sure that we're overlaying, every decision and thought process with that human element, and that AI is used to take the legwork out of things. So I think that's really important from for us from a top line viewpoint, I suppose. Yeah. And then it's putting in those processes again and guardrails and going, do we use it for this? Because we want to create structures where people can make decisions within their remit without having to ask us every time. Okay. That's a big focus for us at the moment.
That's nice.
So I think guardrails are really important. So we need to create those so that we are definitely all on the same page and it's not just opinion. And then we're trying to work out at what point does something get recommended up or escalated or delegated. So that's a big work in progress for us at the moment.
That's really interesting, actually, because I haven't heard people speaking about focusing on that. But I imagine you've chosen to focus on that because it will free you all up to do more good stuff. Absolutely. And Simon and I do not want to become a bottleneck. That would be awful. And we've gone from one of the big things around the investment was that we used to always have to say we had 5 things that we really wanted to do, 5 brilliant ideas, all had a great case study business case around it. We, until recently, have had to be very, very selective about what we invest our time in, about what we invest our money in, because we just haven't had much of either. So we've had to be really selective. Whereas the whole idea behind the investment was we're still going to be super selective. We're not going to come up with millions more random ideas, but those same 5 ideas, we could do all of them. Sure.
So it's every lever all at once, which really exciting. And that means there's a lot more going on. There's more people doing more things, and we can't have everybody feeling stuck, unable to carry on with their thing because they're waiting for Simon and I to sign off on something. So it's really about, at what point, at what level of materiality does a decision become something that goes up a chain?
That's great.
So it's a project at the minute.
That's really good.
We're enjoying it, to be honest.
So what does the next year look like for you guys?
What does the next year look like? Okay, well, we've got a plan and we are delivering exceptionally the plan. I think the top priority for me this year is to make sure that, by the end of this year, our team will be triple what it was at the start of the year, which is absolutely crazy, to be honest. Is that quite right? Maybe double. I'm thinking about
versus last year.
We've tripled in 2 years, I would say. Yeah. So that is crazy. So I really want to make sure that the team and our culture is just absolutely exceptional, and we're really setting ourselves up because we're halfway through this year's plan already. Do you know what I mean? It's not about thinking of new things to do this year. It's about delivering really exceptionally and becoming an amazing team where we're laying the foundations for the growth to come in the following years. And I'd say that we're doing a pretty good job because everyone seems happy and everyone is really smashing it. I feel really humbled and just really lucky to have all these amazing people that have chosen to work with us on this crazy journey.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing all of the traction and how you've built this business and how you're continuing to build it. I think the team seems like they're pretty lucky to have such a fabulously positive, energetic founder. And I'm sure, I haven't met Simon, but I'm sure he's just as wonderful as you are.
He's awesome.
So thank you so much. And I look forward to watching you from the sidelines with huge admiration as you continue to grow.
Oh, thank you so much, Fee. It's been a pleasure. I've absolutely loved our chat.
Me too. Okay.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. It is such a joy to interview someone with such incredible, positive smiley energy. I mean, I feel set up for the day. So thank you so much, Helena, for spending time with us today. Just a quick reflection on some of the learnings there, reminders for us all and for me. Every time I speak to someone like this, it kind of doubles down and brings to the forefront of my mind all the things that we all know, but we need to remind ourselves of. And the first thing is, manifesting, setting out with the end in mind. Helena and Simon, they decided they wanted to raise Series A and they wanted to do it with Jam Jar. It's happened. That's incredible, right? They've always focused on quality, rigorous testing. They're doing something in the marketplace that the category never did before. And we talk a lot about, when we're talking about category creation, certainly on the Mini MBA, Brand Growth Heroes Mini MBA, we talk a lot about over-delivering against the rest of the category. And I think that's what True Start Coffee have done. And there's a real product market fit right now because everyone's focused on health. And they've been doing this for years. They've been testing and kind of highlighting the fact, not in a negative way, but by being the one that doesn't have mycotoxins, by being the product that doesn't have chemicals, by being the product that's consistent, they're highlighting the fact, certainly to me now, that other products aren't doing that job. And certainly I'm going to be moving coffees now that I've heard all of that. The bit about community building, the bit about finding your super consumers and doubling down on them. Helena and Simon went out there and they did so many events with runners and, people doing big kind of fitness events, and they were out there and they were sampling and they're building their community, and that really helped establish the brand early days. Their brand, they have positioned on something that's totally different within the category. Rather than positioning on just barista style coffee, theirs is all about positive energy and focusing on experience. And that shines through everything they do, whether it is the way they look, how they act, who they are. It's true to who they are. It's true to their spirit. It's true to them as people. And it's filtering all the way down through their team. And it's certainly true to their packaging and their branding. I don't know if you've seen True Start's packaging and branding, but take a look. It's absolutely jumps off the shelf at you. It's really beautiful. I love their new coffee concentrate. They're bringing something new to the marketplace, or at least it's been done by the incumbent Nestle, but they're doing it in a totally different way. And what else do I love? Oh, the fact that they're, as co-founders, that they've got complementary leadership skills. That is brilliant. How lucky are they? I would love to have a co-founder in my business that had a complementary set of leadership skills to me, because I do, to be fair, I try and surround myself with people who understand my shortcomings and can help me, pull them inside some guide rails and stuff, which is, I think, quite important. And finally, the focus on profitability. Wow, really impressed. Hats off to you guys at True Start Coffee. You are doing something superb. Loads goes into the planning, preparation, production, and particularly editing and sound engineering around Brand Growth Heroes episodes. So my first thanks to my tech guru and sound engineer, Jip again of Ballagroove, and also to the rest of the Brand Growth Heroes team who all put in so much hard work to bring these episodes to you.